Yeah, whatever. Different than the thumbnail, you say? Well, it's because I tricked you. I'm going to take some heat for this one. I know I am. I can't. So, usually if we think in things of terms of like a continuum or a spectrum, I'm always at the logical end of those equations. I'm very logical. There are certain disadvantages in that, though. One of those disadvantages is when you do something illogical, people that know you well question it a lot because they expect you to be the logical one. Biggest Harbor Freight blunder, biggest Harbor Freight mistake. Here it is. I'm not going to tease you. I teased you in the thumbnail. I don't even remember the model number of this. I'll roll it in the description. It's the 1/4 inch on one end. See, 1/4 inch, and it's quick release. Reversible, flex head, 3/8 on the other end. Why is this my biggest Harbor Freight regret? Because I can't figure out how to use it. Now, you might think of that and say, hey, dummy, it's a ratchet. Look, I thought about other things to roll in here. I brought backup just in case. There it is, the Drill Master 4.5 inch angle grinder. Bought that for $10. Never could get it to work. Waited a while. Waited till it was out of warranty to try to use it. So it's relegated to the box. Can't return it. Wow, I just threw $10 away. What did I do? Well, I went and bought a Porter Cable angle grinder from Lowe's for $25. That thing works great. But this was a total waste of money. For me, your mileage may vary. Item 69645. So why isn't that my biggest regret? Well, probably because I got about what I expected. I could tell you a story here. I will, briefly. I bought a belt sander a couple years ago from Harbor Freight. Cost me, I think, about $30. I used that thing to take paint off of a deck, to sand paint off of about a 300 square foot deck. I used that puppy for probably 2 hours and I thought, this thing is great, this belt sander. Wow, I got more than what I paid for. Maybe Harbor Freight electric tools aren't as bad as I've heard. Maybe they're not. Well, then an odd thing happened. I kept using it. I used it 5 hours and then 6 hours. And along about the 7-hour mark, I thought, this thing seems to be running out of steam. This Harbor Freight belt sander. Well, I used it for 2 days. Long story short, after 2 days, I got the job done, but I figured out why they give you the extra set of brushes with it. It's because after 2 days of pretty heavy use, the thing was useless. What did I do? I took it back. I got the job done. They said, well, what was wrong with it? I said, well, I've used it for 2 days and it's worn out. And they looked at me. And I looked back at them. And they kept looking at me, so I kept looking back at them. And then I stuck my hand out, and then eventually they put my money back in my hand. And then they put me on a list for a while. A list of people that they were going to question when they return stuff. Because that thing, I cleaned it up really good. And I didn't abuse it. I just used it like a belt sander. But I could tell that they were a little bit irritated about that. But what am I going to do? I got my money back, so I was happy. Even that, not my biggest regret. This ratchet, my biggest regret is that I can't find a specific use for it. The reason I got it, I did a couple timing belts on Camrys. I've had two Camrys. I've done a total of 2 timing belt jobs on them. Look at how low profile that is. I thought if I stick a 10 millimeter socket on that, I'll be able to get 72 teeth, by the way. 72 teeth, fine tooth ratchet. I'll be able to fit this thing back in there. Transverse mounted 4-cylinder engine. I got big hands, big arms, so this thing was going to have to fit up in some spots. And it is low profile. If you're comparing it to like one of those Craftsman teardrop style ratchets, yeah, it's low profile. There's the 3/8 end. Yeah, it's lower profile than some big bulky ratchet, but long story short, after I bought it, I tried to use it for that, and still, it didn't do what I wanted it to do. It was low profile, but it wasn't quite low profile enough. I ended up getting some long, extra long, double box end ratcheting wrenches, flex head ratcheting wrenches. I'll do a video on those eventually. Those are kind of a story in and of themselves, but this is a tool that I think there's a lot of people out there that it could serve very, very well, and they would be happy with it. Pro tip here, because it is Pittsburgh Pro. This thing costs $30 at Harbor Freight, and I have never seen it go on sale. So if you're going to use Little Joe, the 20% off coupon where you're going to pay what, 24 bucks? You're going to use the Haas, the 25% off coupon. What's that? 7.5 off, so $22.50. So you're going to spend, no matter what, you're going to spend about 22.5 or 24 bucks. Maybe you're going to pay full price. Maybe you're a high roller. Maybe you don't want to use the Harbor Freight coupons. Why is this my biggest Harbor Freight regret, my biggest Harbor Freight mistake? I just haven't really found a use for it. It's not like the belt sander I just talked about, where it wore out after 2 days. It's not like this angle grinder that I could never get to work and wasted $10 on. This, I wasted $24 on it, basically just because I couldn't think of a decent use for it. What does it do now? It sits in a box. Eventually, I'm probably going to use this in my car box, my car tool box. I'll roll in a video, a tour of that right up there. That's where this thing's going. It's not bad quality. It's good quality, okay? I'm not ranking on it. This isn't a hate Harbor Freight video. This is more about my own buying mistake than it is about any failure from Harbor Freight. So that's my biggest regret. Maybe you think this is anticlimactic. Maybe you have a problem with my reasoning. Tell me in the description. I know some of you have this very same ratchet. I know some of you have likely used this with great success. I can't think of things to use it for. I feel bad because I wasted $24 on it. For me, it was a waste. That's it. That's my biggest regret. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, tell me in the comments. I don't know, maybe if it didn't cost so much to ship, maybe I would consider doing like a giveaway with this, but after my past giveaways, I promised myself I would try to ship stuff that costs less to ship. So it's not bad if you're considering buying one of these. If you want one of those do-it-all type tools, I think this thing would serve you pretty well. My advice would be probably to Loctite these Allen head screws. Maybe put some blue Loctite. I have noticed with this on the 1/4 inch end particularly, when you get a socket on there, it does tend to be a little bit loose, but you can tighten them. I've got to believe this is like the same thing as like the Easy Red style. I see those Easy Reds. It looks exactly the same. It's made in Taiwan. Pro tip again, because we are talking about Pittsburgh Pro. Usually with the hand tools at Harbor Freight, you've got count them, 3 different countries of origin. And usually that corresponds to the quality level. At the low end, you've got made in India. Those are usually the cheapest tools they sell. Some of them are decent. I have a set of wrenches I bought for like a 22-piece set that I bought. Those are made in India. And they're not bad. But it's kind of hit and miss. On the number 2 spot in the middle of the spectrum are the tools made in China. Those are kind of the mid-priced tools. Then at the high end, you have like this one, country of origin, some of the sockets as well. I think the impact sockets, some of those are made in Taiwan. That's usually the most expensive stuff they sell there at Harbor Freight. And like the ratcheting wrenches and anything where the fit and finish tends to be more high end, usually you look at it in Taiwan. So India, China, Taiwan. That's kind of the hierarchy of Harbor Freight. So that's it. I don't have much more to say about this. It's not Harbor Freight's fault. This one was my fault. I looked at it and I thought conceptually this seems like a really, really good idea. But then when I attempted to put it into use, I thought this thing's more of a gimmick than I thought it was. Some of these, like the Easy Red style or even the Monster, they'll have like a bit driver on one end and like a 1/4 inch or a 3/8 on the other end. Maybe those are a little bit better. I don't know. Tell me what your experience is. I almost feel bad about posting this, but this isn't, again, I keep repeating myself, this isn't a knock on Harbor Freight as much as it is a knock on me. This thing works fine for what it is. It just, for me personally, it was kind of a miss. And that's why it's my biggest regret. I can't figure out a way to consistently use it and have it really pay off. And I feel like I overpaid for it. Tell me if you disagree. Tell me if you agree. That's my video. Ta-ta for now, folks.